Hey, tequila. Fuck you, buddy. Baby, no, I was just saying that. I love you, tequila. Hello and welcome to the Ethanol Review, where I talk about all things alcohol, liquor, wines, beers, cocktails, you name it, we've probably covered it in this YouTube show. Today we're going to talk about a Sotol brand that you probably have never heard of and never seen and probably never would see unless you happen to be in a very specific part of Texas. First of all though, what is Sotol? Sotol, loosely you could call it a cousin to agave spirits like mezcal or tequila, but it's actually made from a different type of plant, a succulent. Imagine agave, which I'm going to show you a picture, maybe, and then the desert spoon, which is what Sotol is based on, is a Dacylarian wheelery, or in this case, Dacylarian texanum. So it looks similar, kind of behaves similar, right? You've got the big heart, the piña, and these shootlets that come out of it. But with agave, they're a bit thicker, just a different plant. The desert spoon is more thin and spindly, and it has this giant flower that comes out of the top of it, so that when it's fully grown, around 10 to 15 years, it can stand up to 15 feet high. And this is actually when the Sotol producers want to get this Dacylarian wheelery, or desert spoon, is around 10 to 15 years is when it's mature enough to actually go through the mashing, steaming process to turn into like a sugary carbohydrate that you can then ferment, turn into Sotol beer, and then distill it and get Sotol. There are some similarities, as you would imagine, between flavor profiles of tequila, mezcal, and Sotol, but there are also differences. It's a different plant, like I said before, and there's different methodology behind producing it. This particular brand, Desert Door Texas Sotol, is from Mount Hayes County in Texas. This is just north of San Antonio, right around the center of the state. This was founded by three Texans who were all military veterans, thank you very much, and they apparently fell in love with this spirit and decided to make it themselves. And let me tell you, they did a great job. I'm really excited to share this with you guys. If you ever can find one, awesome. It's going to be tricky. The bottle is really cool, kind of hard to see the label, but incredibly distinct nonetheless. This is just a really cool spirit, and I'm looking forward to tasting it with you, which is what we'll do right now. It looks like water. I'm sure it went through a filtration process. Well, I'm not sure, I take that back, but I assume that it went through a filtration process. Looks like Blanco tequila. The nose is so distinct. It makes me think of imagine you're in the dry deserts of Mexico and you're walking through the desert and it's just rocks and fucking cacti and snakes, and all of a sudden this round hut shows up in the distance, and you walk to the hut and there's this little old lady and she's like, do you want some water? You know, maybe she's speaking in Spanish. Do you want some water? And you're like, yes. And you go in and there's this downstairs cellar, and you walk down into the cellar and there's all these big pots full of some substance. You open up one of the pots and this is what you smell. Does that make sense? What I mean to say is it's almost hard to put my finger on exactly what the aroma is. There's so much depth to it. There's so much character here. It's kind of roasted. It's kind of vegetal. It's kind of sweet. It's a little bit fruity. It's a little bit, there's like dirt. There's soil. White pepper. It's just really interesting aroma. Killer aroma. same thing on the palate. The palate, there's lots of movements. Kind of like this cooked down vegetation with pepper and some sugar, like cooked down sugar, but not a deep caramel, like you just melted the sugar and it's almost there. It's like going to the first stage of the Maillard reaction to get to caramel, but it's not quite there yet. So it allows this kind of sweetness to underlie that vegetation and that earthy quality that I mentioned on the aroma. And there's very much this kind of ceramic pot thing going on, this kind of like it's been stored in jars. I assume they didn't store this in jars, but that's what it reminds me of. And so in a way, it's kind of like a mezcal meets a tequila is the vibe I'm getting. The best aspects of both of those kind of put in together in one. And this is what this Sotol reminds me of, which is very different than the other Sotol I had, the Sotol Por Siempre that I reviewed. That Sotol was like, you felt like you could set it on fire, where this is more delicate, nuanced, complex of a spirit. Really cool, really cool. You can't tell because this isn't see-through, but my wife and I have drank a fucking ton of this. There's probably this much left, and you know, it's a good thing I got this review in time because Lauren is just like killing it. Don't tell anybody, but she hits the sauce sometimes. Anyhow, thanks for watching. If you have any questions about Sotol, please send them my way. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, The Ethanol Review. If you really liked it, go to patreon.com/theethanolreview and show some monetary support. I'll see you guys next week with a really interesting announcement. Cheers.